Good evening, St. Lucia, and welcome to another edition of Chill and Chat. I'm your host, Mondi Lewis, and today I have with me, yet again, Honorable Philip J. Pierre in the seat, Chill and Chat. Welcome, Honorable.
Hi, Mondi. Good afternoon, or good day? Is it good day?
Good day.
Good day. Good day to all viewers and listeners. It's nice to be here again. I hope we can have a very fruitful conversation.
Okay, and St. Lucia, you're probably wondering why, for a third time, that I have Honorable Philip J. Pierre, but I think this man's life is so extensive that, I've had to have multiple. So if you recall, the first time we did a Chill and Chat just to get to know about Honorable Philip J. Pierre, and the second time we did the constituency edition. So this time I would like to engage him about his quest, his journey as a cabinet minister. How long were you a cabinet minister for?
I had one stint of 10 years and another stint of 5 years. Basically, yeah. Okay. 15 years, a little less, I think, because it was 1997 to 2001 and 2011 to 2016.
Oh, well, 97 to 2001 and 2001.
1997 2001, 2001 to 2006. That's 10 years. And then 2011 to 2016.
Okay, so let's deal with the first term. So the first term is from 1997 to 2001.
From June 1997, the elections were on the 23rd of May, and we got sworn, I think, on the 8th of June or something, so around that day. I have to be careful with my dates.
Yes, since we see some unprecedented times.
Yes.
Okay, so take me to your first term as a minister in 1997. What portfolio did you hold?
Well, in 1997, I was Minister of Tourism, Civil Aviation and Financial Services.
Okay.
In 1997. And that was, in fact, that was from 1997 to 1999.
Okay.
And then from 1999 to 2001, I was Minister of Commerce, Consumer Affairs and Financial Services. And then from 2001 to 2006, as Minister of Commerce, Tourism, Investment, Financial Services, and Consumer Affairs. Commerce and Tourism.
You alone?
Me alone, yeah. I had during my stint as Minister of Tourism in the first year, Minister Rambali was my parliamentary secretary. After that, I had
Wow, that's a lot for a first-time minister, really.
Yeah, well, in 1997, all of us are first-time ministers.
Yes.
The only person who had ministerial experience was Kenny Anthony. He was Minister of Education.
Yes.
And all of us we were pretty young. We started. There was Calix George was there. Calix George Casillas, Walter François, Damian Graves, Mario Michel was the Deputy Prime Minister. Then there was Minister Rambali. There was Sarah Flood.
Yeah, because you had the 16-1 mandate that time.
Yeah. Sarah Flood was there. You imagine that?
A different time.
Ferguson John. There was Cyprian Lancico.
John from Babuno also.
There was John, very good guy. There was Anthony Torrance.
Okay.
A lot of us, many of us, 16 of us.
I was very young. I was probably 10, so I only have vague memories of my parents going to rallies, and it was I could just think and feel the emotion of that time. We used to walk to Parliament, Yes, like you say, rock stars.
It was a real exciting time. It was also exciting in the economy also, because you were coming from bananas into tourism. It was very trying at that time.
Well, I recall that. Well, for me, I wouldn't know about the transition, because some people would say that John Compton gave Vaughan Lewis that poison chalice because the banana industry had lost the preferential trade agreement.
Yes, we had lost it. We had lost it because Britain had entered into the EU. So I'll tell you something, before you sent bananas to England, they sold everything you had. They bought everything you had, right? I remember my dad putting bananas at the back of his car, and going to sell it by the port. I recall that.
Okay.
They used to sell bananas with in the leaves But the dry leaves, put them in and bring it.
Okay.
Yes. Everything went to England.
And I can imagine at that time, because you saw the decline in the preferential treatments, that also meant increase in standards, change in terms of how people could readily sell their produce, and we saw St. Lucia now making that transition. And I think, were you the one in charge of literally bringing us from banana-based economy to a tourism or sector-based? Because you really got tourism.
I got tourism in
and
1997.
financial sector
In 1997,
services.
yeah, in
So that's
1997.
two major things to
Two
bring about.
transformative ministries.
Yes.
You see what
Tell us
happened?
about that.
You see that transition from bananas was really. It was a steep. It was
Yeah.
steep because, as I said, from the beginning, as a boy, seeing bananas being shipped in the back of a car, being brought to the port. Then it moved into boxes. They moved it into boxes. Then there was a transition, right? And then when around the 1990s, you spoke about the quality of bananas. So you had to have special, it became more complicated.
Yeah.
Then when Britain entered the EU, then we could not compete because of price. The prices for bananas from Latin America, etc., in Africa were cheaper from the ACP countries were much cheaper. Then we started the industry, and then the industry was not our industry in terms of our tourism industry was not the backbone of the economy. The backbone was agriculture, bananas. And this is why you got the development of Miku and Denri. These parts of the Nusha actually fed the rest of the country with foreign exchange. So our industry was small. The first minister was Romanus Lancico. He was the minister of tourism, and then he tried his best. He had a motto. It was, I think. It was be the best, I think. St. Lucia must be the best. And then he tried. But it got very competitive after our industry, our country depended basically on tourism. So when I came in, we found ourselves in a situation where we got millions of dollars per week from one industry, and we have to go into a completely new industry. So it was actually a transition from bananas into tourism. And it was actually a revolution.
Yes.
Right? Because it was from goods to services. I mean, you sent bananas out. Now you have to export services, and your services is your tourism industry, and you have all the issues relating to being to race and slavery, and it was a cultural shift also.
Yes.
So you have the economics being clashing with the culture. So what we had to do is we had to have a path where you would tell people that even though you're creating a service, you're not in servitude, right? Because there was a belief that if you were serving people, you were in servitude. That's a legacy of our history. So there was that need, and that is why we had to. When we came to power in 1997, I developed the philosophy that the benefits of tourism must accrue to as many people as possible. I thought we had to have a philosophical underpinning to the industry, to say to people, listen to me, you work, what you're doing is you're actually working, you're providing a service. You're not a servant, you're providing a service. And that service you must do the best, because in exchange, you get foreign exchange, you get employment, and that is what your country depends on. So we had to put a philosophical underpinning to it. And how did we do that? We thought that the people who served in the industry, the taxi drivers, the people at the hotels, had to get some direct benefit. The first thing we did is we removed taxes on the tips for everybody who worked in the hotel or in the restaurant.
Okay.
There was no tax on tips, right? Because sometimes if you have a good client, and your tip is good, right? And we thought the government should not tax it. So when we speak about tax reform. It's nothing new for our party. That's why we can speak about the $4,000 now, because we started that reform. So any tip or service charge, we thought that it should not be taxable.
Okay.
So we removed it. That was the first thing we did. So workers got more money. So they are more involved. So they work harder, and they're more excited.
It was an incentive.
Yeah, that's all right. It was an incentive, right? That's the first thing we did. Then we decided, listen, taxi drivers, we thought that they should get some benefits because we were building our infrastructure, our ports, etc. We were building hotels. And that was the time when the most hotels came to St. Lucia, 1997 to 2006.
And I would really like to talk about that, but we'll...
Yes, that was when the most hotels came to St. Lucia. The physical structure of St. Lucia's tourism industry expanded in that time. I'm speaking about hotels, etc. So we said, listen to me, hotels get incentives. And that argument comes over and over again. And there were many people who said, why are you giving these hotels so many incentives? The same people who say, why you want to pay CXC fees and why you want to pay facility fees? Why? But we were giving the hotels all these incentives. And what happened? More hotels came. More people got employed. Right? So when you have tax support, when you pay less taxes, there's a multiplier effect.
Yes.
So we said to the folks who drove, who own taxis, listen to me. If you come to train, if you become the best ambassador that you can be, if you learn about St. Lucia, right, we will give you a reward. What is the reward? We'll give you a special license plate and we'll give you a vehicle duty free.
Okay.
Right?
So you're saying under a Labour Party government, under your tenure, that you trained.
We trained the taxi
they had
drivers.
to go to school.
They had to go to school.
Nice.
Yes, they went to school at the Mon. Now, surprisingly, there were some of them who were very scared in that they thought, listen to me, I hadn't been to school for such a long time. He said, all right, what we did is, with the help of the Mon, and that is when you work together, we had a mixture of the practical and the theory.
Very nice.
Right? And you see these big guys, these guys going with their books in their hand. And it was nice, to see guys going back to school. And we gave them certificates.
Very nice.
You understand? And then we gave them a special license plate. You understand? So you had a certified taxi driver. A guy who knew about the country, he knew about the local history, he knew about the history of the country, he knew about the sites, the birds, the fauna.
Yeah, because you're first ambassador to your country, right there.
How he was dressed and things. So, and he said, if you do that, you get a certificate. So you are certified taxi driver. And then we give you duty-free concessions.
Okay.
Yeah. So we give taxi drivers, for the first time, the only people who got incentives were the hotels, but we gave taxi drivers and the transportation sector got incentives.
Okay.
In 1997 when I was a minister and the party was in government. So again, the matter of diversifying incentives is nothing new to me, nor is it new to our party. That's what we do. And the quality of taxi improved. You saw better taxis because we needed to have a global standard. Because the problem with tourism is that your competitor is your client.
Yes.
Because the US and England, they are large tourism destinations themselves.
Exactly. So
you have to have a global standard. So the taxi had to be of a certain standard. So the guys got incentives, they got the taxis, and the industry.
So Labour Party has always been putting people first then.
Because
you're talking about a real transformative period. You have to balance between big business and also your people and giving your people a place in there, and I mean just the investment. And I think sometimes you hear a lot of people say that a lot of banana farmers hadn't made the transition into the taxi services.
A lot of them and into the construction sector. You understand? Because we had many banana farmers, not necessarily farmers, but banana farmers. So what happened is that when we did that, we got our services, our taxi services they went to the next level. But we found ourselves in a situation where our vendors were complaining, right? So what we said is that the first thing we did, I think possibly in the first month or so when I was a minister, there was a gate. Yes. And that was at that time.
That's at La Place Carriage.
We opened that gate. I opened that gate with the support of the cabinet. I opened that gate. So tourists came straight from the boat and they went straight the gate and went to because we always put people first. That's what we are. That's what we're about. You understand? So the tourists now, the vendors, got the tourists directly. You see, the vendor market was not our work. It was the work of the UWP. It was George Mallet and Romanus Lancico. They were the ones who did it, but we modified it. But the gate was closed. You understand? So because they just said, why the tourists come straight and go to the thing for security? We said, no. We put a security guard in and we let the gate open. But to do that, we need to have some level of control. So we decided that we would employ tourism hostesses.
Oh, these are the ones that Alan Shastney fired in 2006.
2006. These are the same people that were fired by the UWP in 2006.
Yes.
Right? Particularly in Soufrière, they were fired, right? We said that we had tourism hostesses. What were these people? They were young men and women that we put in uniform. We trained them. They were trained. We just didn't put them there, Just like it's like the wardens, just put them in the road in a few.
They got some visual training.
The ones got some training, yeah.
Training.
But they weren't trained. Like the wardens for enforcement.
Yes.
The hostesses were trained for education. So the hostesses would accompany the tourists through to Castries, show them the sights, and then that went well, and it created employment. I can't remember the number, but quite a few young people got employed as hostesses, and they learned. Some of them, they became friends with the tourists, particularly the cruise ship, the cruise line tourists. Then there needed to be a level of enforcement. So we had what we called the tourism ranger. These were men that we trained them to be rangers. So what they did is that they ensured that the beaches were safe and the streets were safe. They helped the police, but they were in conjunction with the police. It was a separate unit working under the command of the police. Another thing we did is we created the NCA, National Conservation Authority.
Yes.
Basically to keep the beaches clean. Because when I came to government, there was a beaches that's called the Parks and Beaches Commission. We transitioned into the National Conservation Authority that was in charge of keeping the beaches clean and also licensing vendors against putting people first.
Yes, indeed. Right?
We trained the vendors and we put them on to sell on the beaches. We organized them. They had a license, etc.
I served on an NCA board, and I mean, by that time, completely evolved in terms of building renovating the Monley-by and
not renovated. Hold on.
The Columbus. Okay, well, in my time, 2011, you built it.
Yes.
No, I didn't even know that.
Yes. You renovated it.
Yeah.
You understand?
My board renovated it, but you built it.
Yes.
You see, Mr. Pierre, I mean, I'm always just so stunned, and I feel like I'm Labour Party, and I don't know these things.
Yeah, because I do both. You see, that was what. And Menisa came in 1999, I think, 1999 to 1999, and she continued. You understand? We built it.
Again, all again, as if I feel like it just was always there.
No, it wasn't always there. Let me tell you. Let me tell you what caused me to do that. You won't believe it. People always sold there, right? So, I don't know if that's a TV joke. So one day, I can't remember what happened. So a guy said to me, boss, a taxi driver, he said, when the tourists come and they want to go to the washroom, we tell them go there. And they're there. They say, go there. And you see the tourists walked and walked and walked. I say, where there? There's the bush.
So it was about putting the infrastructure in for people
right.
to, like a rest stop.
So we made it I made it a rest stop with the government. So we actually put toilets in there for the first time. There were no toilets in there.
I never knew this.
Yes, there was. Right now, we take that as if that was always there.
Yes, it was always there.
No, you renovated it. We built a platform and put in the toilets, particularly the washrooms.
Yes, and I was under an NCA.
Yes,
and the big lay-by at Columbet, I mean, fantastic.
Yeah, but that was...
Well, that's like 2011 also under the St. Lucia Labour Party.
Because that was, again, to get people involved. Another thing I hate to use the word I think it's we did the center at the Sulphur Springs. We're the ones who did that. The center where you have all the history of Sulphur Springs, and we did that. That building, we did that. We put that
Pierre, I have to take my first break, but I mean, I thought, probably in this edition I could do all your ministries, but we're not even halfway through the Ministry of Tourism yet.
No, we're not.
But St. Lucia, this is Chill and Chat with Honorable Philip J. Pierre, and we're discussing his many portfolios as a cabinet minister under St. Lucia Labour Party government. We'll be right back after the break. Welcome back to Chill and Chat St. Lucia. Again, my guest, Honorable Philip J. Pierre, and we've been speaking about his many accomplishments as the Minister for Tourism. We haven't even touched commerce or financial services, which is what he did in his first term. So I don't even know how we're going to get through to when he was infrastructure, but let's see how far we get with this interview. So Mr. Pierre, you were, as one of our colleagues said, schooling me about all your accomplishments as the minister, and I still, and I will say it, lament that a Labour Party didn't put that out there for us, because you take it for granted that taxi drivers being certified was just always a thing, that there were always these infrastructure programs, that there was no taxes on tips, that's just how it was, because who would tax somebody's tip? But I'm very happy today, and it's really an education for me, and I think a lot of other St. Lucians. But let's talk about some of your infrastructure work in the Ministry of Tourism, because as you were saying, again, a shift from bananas to tourism, and you were in charge of that shift in the economy.
Well, first of all, I think, Monday, I don't know whether you know that, I was actually chairman of the Caribbean Tourism Organization, the CTO. That was, I think, October 2016 as chairman, but we got...
Yes.
Yeah, we lost the election, so there's somebody had to take over from me. But I was actually chairman one time.
In 2006?
Not 2006, 2016. 2006. My date is
yes.
2006. As chairman of the CTO. All right. In terms of the infrastructure, we didn't build the hotels. It came under us. We had to negotiate the incentives, yes. We had to negotiate all the packages, etc. Between 1997 and 2006, St. Lucia had a rush as far as investments in hotels, in hotel plant is concerned. Right? Between 2011 and 2016, I was not the minister, but the party was in government, and we had two major hotels.
Yes, that's
the Royalton
and the Harbour Club.
Two major hotels. In 2009, 2006, we had the Capella, we had the Begans Resort, we had Coco Palm, we had, a number. Sometimes I don't really remember, honestly. Honestly, because in fact, the fact is, every hotel that's built in St. Lucia between 1997 and now was built under our administration. That is a fact. It's a fact with which some people refuse to accept.
But it's also a fact that the Labour Party refused to champion and to talk about.
Possibly. Every hotel in 1997 and today's date, every new hotel, not renovations or put off rooms, new hotel was built on us. The landings, I remember clearly negotiations for the landing hotel. The landings, it was a group of St. Lucian entrepreneurs. I was very excited about it because it was St. Lucians who were investing in a hotel, St. Lucian businessmen that was a very exciting time for me. You know, some of because what we were doing is that we were seeing our local people get into the into the industry. Then there was a time when the Destans built, expanded their hotel. Very exciting to me. Local people, because St. Lucia had many local people involved in the industry. Then there was the Sanders Grand, which was, people want to think it was a debacle, but I think it's there.
Well, yes, I think I had to correct somebody recently and say, you know, all of the investigations, and you want to talk about Sanders Grand, one of the biggest plans, and a Labour Party did that.
It was actually the Hyatt,
Yes.
The Hyatt. You know, so every hotel between 1997 and now, every hotel, and I want to stress, every hotel was built under the Labour Party. Either when I was a minister in 1997 to 2006, or when Law Enforcement Officer said 2011, 2016, every hotel.
So you're really the tourism guru, and not others who claim it?
Anyhow.
I see, again, maybe Mr. Pierre, and probably that's the issue, you know, you're so humble and you don't boast, you just do your work, because that's what you were employed to do.
I do my work, and I try to keep the people in Cashes East happy.
And
They're the ones who are
I
never forget them.
It is very eye-opening that, you know, the real tourism guru is sitting here with me, but you have other people claiming it, but with nothing to show for it. But I suppose, you know, it's always good to tell your history, so I'm happy about that.
Yeah. Another thing we did is that we were the first 300,000 visitors came under us. First time we hit 3 figures on the beat. We also did something that was significant. We re-engineered the marketing of St. Lucia abroad, particularly in the United States. What happens is that our agents, they were in an office. Now, I remember when I worked as an auditor, when the manager came and saw, you know, he says, you're not working, because you're working, you're supposed to be out. The job of a salesman or an auditor, you got to be outside, right? What I did, after negotiations speaking with the members of the tourist board, and incidentally, it was under me, we expanded the Ministry of Tourism. Minister of Tourism under Romanus was himself, a PS, and I think 2 or 3 staff.
Okay.
Right? Under us, we made it a full-fledged ministry. And the ministry was in charge of product development, and the tourist board in charge of marketing. So in terms of marketing, after discussion with the tourist board, we changed the way we marketed the infrastructure for marketing in St. Lucia. We changed it. What we did is that instead of having the staff in an office, he says to me, work from your home. Right? So we started this work from home. Yeah. Yeah, I just remember that. Okay. Work from your home. So all our agents work from home, and so then they were already in the site, on the place where they work, you know, close to home. So instead of coming to the office and work, they stayed on the and then went to the different road shows, etc. We also brought in, on the road shows, we went with taxi drivers. Nobi Lucien came with us. In the road shows, we brought musicians, right? For the first time, we dealt with our creatives. We brought our creatives out, you know. St. Lucia Simply Beautiful was something that was done by, that we decided that we have to sell it. So we had road shows, right? And so all these things are new. We started this thing about having St. Lucia Week. That's happening now. Yes. You understand? Something that we started, you know. St. Lucia Week. And then there was the World Travel Market that was there before us. But when we came in, we brought people with us. We brought more people. We had joint marketing. We expanded the concept of joint marketing. So we changed the marketing structure in the US, but we expanded the joint marketing ventures. So we marketed with hotels. We made it an integral part of marketing. So it was there before, but we expanded it. So we got involved. We bought taxi drivers. We bought the cruise people. Everybody went together in cruise marketing. We did all all our creatives are the materials we use for advertising. You understand? So we really transformed the industry.
I mean, it sounds like a very exciting time to have been in that industry.
Yeah, it was very exciting because we were trying new things. We were changing up because we were coming from, I said, from goods to services. But I never liked, up to now, I don't particularly like to travel. So I traveled, but not how I didn't travel how I should have traveled. But I always stayed home and I dialogue. I spoke to people.
And you give your staff the opportunity.
Yes, I gave them opportunity. Let them go ahead and things, and I stayed back. So I think we did a lot. We had some good people. There was Hiri Modest.
Yes.
There was Maria Fowell. There was Costello Michel. The present Prime Minister was there. He was involved. The present Prime Minister. He went on road shows with us himself. I think he was president of the SHT. I think I'm not sure, but he was there. So there was a lot of working together. Right, taxi drivers, Nobi Lucien, etc. And then it was because of that, the people, tourism got, I must say, it became more acceptable. Because people say to me, I'm getting a benefit, right? I'm getting a benefit from the industry. And there were a lot of people who decided, I can make a living from it. So because since there were more hotels, there were more musicians.
Yeah, and I mean, in my mind, I was very young then, but you could always remember the tagline, simply beautiful, and the little hibiscus at the start. And I mean, for something like that to resonate in my mind, even after all these years, is that the marketing must have been on point.
Good, because to his credit, Romanas was very, 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 very gang-ho on St. Lucia and beautiful. It was gang-ho.
Yes.
But like at the time, tourism wasn't considered to be the lead sector. It was bananas and agriculture. But we really developed it. We created the basis for what's happening now, and there's been little change now.
Exactly.
You see, all the World Travel Magazine, all the St. Lucia Week, the USA Week, these are things that was there already. There's no big change. Joint marketing, all the thing about working with airlines, these things, I mean, I wouldn't talk about airlines.
Well, I was just going to say, that we haven't even touched on the aviation and how you expanded. Because
exactly. We bought Virgin Atlantic. I'm the one who brought it in. We did, when I listen to conversations now, people talk, I just sit back and I laugh because really nothing new has happened. Nothing new has happened. What has happened is we've just tweaked a little bit of what they found.
Yes.
Some of it to the detriment of the industry itself. But what I can tell you, there was that alienation of the industry that's happening now, and I'm very concerned about that. That was not as prevalent in our time. Because
in the St. Lucia Labour Party, you would have brought, and another aspect of getting people involved was, what do you call them? The community, help me, heritage tourism?
I forgot that.
Heritage tourism, and I recall that also very much Felix Finisterre involved.
Felix Finisterre was with the EU funds, the Nature Heritage Tourism Program.
Yes.
Where we opened up sites and attractions that were closed before. We started Friday night. I'm sure you don't know. We started Friday night in Ansari.
I was going to ask you. That was my next question because I mean that street jam used to be
started that.
The thing
that came under us.
Mr. Pierre, I don't think
on the Cyprian Lansico.
We've given ourselves.
That started under us. Right? We opened up all these sites and the attractions. We built the roads to them. We trained the people who own these sites. We worked with them. We trained them. We assisted them. So all these fonds, all these sites.
Yes.
Right? I can't even remember.
Yes.
You understand? Developed under us because our motto was, the benefits of tourism must accrue to as many people as possible. All these waterfalls, we opened up. In fact, that Windjammer Road, the road to Windjammer, was built by us.
Okay.
Under that program. So we did a lot of things that people either forget
Take for granted also.
or take for granted. The fundamental development of the modern tourism industry was done by the Labour Party,
That's very impressive.
working with the private sector.
And I think for me, you see now almost a lot of discussion about where are we going in terms of tourism, or is that all that we did? But I think because the story hasn't been told in how ordinary people have benefited and really made livelihoods from this sector, I think people they still think of hotels and tourists and not how, like you say, the taxi drivers, the site
vendors,
operators,
yes.
benefits from tourism. But for you, what was, taking on such a huge task, and I wouldn't even dare try and go into any of your other ministries today because we have enough to speak about tourism. What for you were probably some of the biggest challenges of that time as the Minister of Tourism?
First of all, money. Money for marketing. And that is why we had joint marketing.
Okay.
Marketing is expensive. Advertising is expensive. Money was a problem, right? That's why we supported the last initiative about the initiative of trying to get your marketing budget, trying to get directly from the source, from a tourist source. But during the times of fiscal challenges, we could not. Now, the problem with tourism, you must remain competitive.
Yes.
You understand? Because as I said earlier, your client is your competition, and the tourism industry is global. You're dealing with a global client, so you're dealing with Europe, Africa, Asia. The whole world is in tourism. Latin America. So you're not only dealing with the Caribbean. So you have to have a unique product, but it's got to be at a price. So you have to have the balance between pricing and uniqueness. And St. Lucia has the one thing that St. Lucia has. St. Lucia is a beautiful country.
Beautiful.
Right? And our people are unique.
Yes.
You see, another thing we should happen is that when we were in the tourism industry, the streets, the side of the road was never that way. We cleaned the verges, so when the tourists have the right day. So, but right now all the
But yeah, we had these and again, this is in my very young memory, as a child, these very big campaigns in terms of keeping your community clean and just. Like, you just felt to be in St. Lucia living here was a...
Right, when you drove from Vivo to Cash Street, it was never like that. It was nice. And by the way, the labour came on us, so the things in there.
Wait, so the man, that is...
Yes, that was in the EU.
It's true.
That was part of the EU thing. So
true.
that's, these things... I've said to you, Mondi, there is nothing new happening in tourism.
I think you should just go and put your name on it. Nothing
new.
That's an amazing feat
seriously.
Person to achieve.
If you ask what was new in the tourism industry, there is nothing new. What has happened? What they've done is they've just they've had more money.
But I was just going to say, I think like you mentioned in terms of marketing, I think they just market
because they have more money
better than we do.
I only had $18 million, $20 million to market solution, $20 million, $27 million.
Yeah. And
I remember.
We were talking about hotels, but St. Lucia Party, again, we're ahead of its time in terms of the proliferation of the now Airbnb concept. And I remember for Cricket World Cup,
that was the idea, to incentivize the residential people so they could have Airbnb. But another thing that we seem to have forgotten all the time in the industry is that we don't have money. We found creative ways of doing it. We started a program of getting first generation St. Lucians in the UK to come to St. Lucia. And we wanted to increase it through the jazz festival.
Okay.
Right? We haven't spoken about a jazz festival.
And I only have 10 more minutes.
You haven't spoken about a jazz festival.
We'll get to that.
You haven't spoken about a jazz festival, right? Now, again, we didn't start jazz. Jazz started before us. We didn't start jazz. But when we did is that we looked at it and we tried to expand it, and we try to make it more bringing jazz to the people.
Now, before we start talking about jazz for the people, Mr. Pierre, we'll take a break so we can spend the rest of the show speaking about the Jazz Festival. St. Lucia, I know you've been getting a lot of education today, like myself, but please stay tuned to Chill and Chat. I'm your host, Mondi Lewis, and my guest, Honorable Philip J. Pierre, the tourism guru of St. Lucia. We'll be right back. Welcome back, St. Lucia, to Chill and Chat. And again, Mr. Philip J. Pierre, as my colleague said, the original tourism guru. But Mr. Pierre, this has been just so enlightening. I mean, it kind of blew my mind how you were able to achieve so much under your tenure as the Minister of Tourism, and we haven't even touched on civil aviation, financial services, or commerce yet. But to have achieved that in such a short piece of time, I mean, I beg to ask, like, where did you get the time?
But I think it was we, I was
yes,
the cabinet.
You had a team, but again, under your tenure. But we were speaking about the St. Lucia Jazz Festival, you know, and some of my friends still like, Mondi, it's the one thing that we must come to St. Lucia to do. I'm like, that doesn't exist anymore. And no one can understand it. But tell me how, again, you said it wasn't the brainchild of a St. Lucia Labour Party.
No. We found it. We found jazz. What we did is that we had a concept based again on a philosophical. You see, there must be a philosophy in your life. You can't be just willy-nilly. You must believe in something. If you believe in nothing, you'll die.
And you do it for anything.
Yeah, you understand? And we had a philosophy that St. Lucia is a beautiful country. St. Lucians are unique, and you must put them first. You must never be a second-class citizen in your own country. You understand? So we didn't only have jazz for tourists; we had jazz for St. Lucians. You understand? So we developed a concept called taking jazz to the people. Right? So visitors and locals, they merge, and you take it to the people. You take it to Marshall.
Yes.
Right? And the Marshall people, the people of Cassis East and the people of St. Lucia, will never forgive the person or the persons who took jazz away from them. And as I have a day to live, I'll tell you something, at the first opportunity that I have, we're going to bring it back.
Yes.
To
I mean, this was some of my first parties as an adult.
We're going to bring it back.
Yes.
You see, the people of Cassis East are looking for it, and they'll get it. So we took jazz to the people. Now we took it to Marshall, we took it to Bocage, we took it to Fifort, Moshi,
Kareli, Ballard,
and the people developed it themselves.
No, Moshi Music Creole was a big
so
deal.
The argument now that they use is the jazz festival costs us too much money. Okay, agreed. Let's say it costs so much money. All right. So what you have is you have a jazz festival with local people. We have so many musicians, local talent you develop, and that comes back to our youth economy. You develop your local talent, so you feature them in the jazz festival.
Mr. Pierre, the spin-offs, I could not wait for the haute couture trunk sales so I could buy my
that was on the
but the lawn, but again a layer party in terms of how you now revamped it to a St. Lucia Jazz and Arts Festival.
That was on the lawn.
That was on the lawn,
good work there. Yeah.
And I could buy bags from Fiona.
Exactly.
Buy membered bags.
So forget about the millions of dollars you pay the foreign artists.
Yes.
Let's see, your argument is you spend too much money. Oh, you spend 20 million. Forget about the foreign artists. Let's have local and regional artists.
Yeah, but what about the multiplier effect that happened? So you paid for this artist, but okay, so and it was a Mother's Day weekend, right?
Mother's Day weekend, and the last day of the Premier League.
So I know I always have to get my mom a ticket.
Yes.
Then she wants to do her hair. She wants to get an outfit made maybe by Shazzy or a local designer. You want to get a bag, you want to get your makeup done, just all the things that were involved.
And the vendors and the vendors.
You could never get enough food.
Exactly. So you cut off the big expense.
Yes.
You forget about the foreign leaders and do local people. So we have a Sunday show with local artists.
But in Soufrière, when you went to Soufrière, you could not get an Airbnb or hotel to stay in, you know.
A taxi either.
You couldn't.
You understand? So that's what, and so then because of the way we think in the layer party, we thought that jazz was also for the people, taking jazz to the people. That's what we did. And the jazz festival was, but they stopped it.
Yes.
And they have a series of festivals that nobody hears about.
So like cushy. But anyway, jazz quads, I think that's what people say.
That's what happens when you try to change everything for changing's sake.
As opposed to building on it like a
that's what we did. We found that they had jazz, we kept it.
Yes.
A lot of things we found in tourism industry, we kept it. We expanded upon it, but we kept it. I didn't go in and just change things back. I kept what was there, what was necessary, but we expanded and we tweaked it. We made it better. You understand? But what they believe is that, you see, the government has a mission to destroy the legacy of the Labour Party, to destroy Kenny Anthony, destroy Philip J. Pierre, destroy us. You see, a friend of mine called it, they are opposing the opposition.
Yes. I've never seen such a thing.
I've never seen a situation where the opposition gets attacked.
I have never seen
we get
such
attacked.
a thing.
We get attacked for being in opposition. You understand? Not knowing that the United Workers' Party has in power more years than us.
Yes.
The United Workers' Party has run St. Lucia for 40 years, many more years than us.
Yes.
You understand? So St. Lucia, the way St. Lucia is because the United Workers' Party has been in power for more than us. But if you hear them now, you think that they will never in power.
Yes, they just came.
They just came and they found St. Lucia. They just came and then Pierre and Kenny, Pierre, Kenny and Hille.
It's hilarious, really.
Yeah, really. I mean, sometimes I laugh and think, Pierre, Kenny and Hille, Pierre, Hille and Kenny. It's something else. As if the guys were never there, you know.
Yes.
And anyhow, let's get back to where we were.
But
So back to the tourism. So we did the jazz. Yeah, do the jazz festival. What we thought and the benefits were tremendous. I think there was an economic study done on the spiller from and it was something else. The multiplier effect was I think 3 times the money spent.
The exposure you got, people. I mean, and just the creativity and I think a lot of artists will tell you that's when they made the money for the year.
Yeah, and we could partner with other people. So if you take off the big expense, we could have had a jazz festival with a smaller budget.
So I think that the name had already been made.
St. Lucia Jazz
was worldwide. It was known.
Yes. And people would come, you know.
Yes.
So even though you didn't have artists, people might have still come for the atmosphere.
Mr. Pierre, my father used to come to jazz every year and he could never tell me who performed.
No.
They were
the atmosphere,
sometimes
all
they
the
bought
beach parties, the fetes, and so what you did.
Yes.
So our plan was to make St. Lucia a music island for the week.
Yes.
A music island. You come in for music, so you have music everywhere. You have music on the square, just music.
And it worked.
Local music.
It worked.
So cut off the foreign artists if they cost too much.
It worked.
You understand? But you have to crush the legacy of the Labour Party. You have to crush them.
Well, I really
they did
hope
nothing.
The Labour Party would bring back jazz. I think everyone's looking forward to that, and the new opportunities, especially for young people with the youth economy. I could see it.
The opportunity, exactly, because you bring everybody together.
Yes.
Well, right now we have COVID. We hope that you have COVID, which is something that we have to consider now. In all your plans, you must put COVID in. You understand?
But we also have we have international, local stars. People homegrown St. Lucian. Abu Hinkson will never get tired. The Taj Weeks will never get tired. You have KO, you have Smalls, and you have the whole
and developing artists,
of Denry segments and Kuya and the whole rest of them. So I mean, I'm so excited.
Yeah,
I can't wait.
So you have a music week.
Yes.
So you call it St. Lucia Jazz by the Music Week, you understand? But they just crushed it.
Yes.
All right, that's it. So our industry was built on people, and we work we haven't spoken about Le Sport, the expansion of Le Sport, when Le Sport became a body holiday, when they expanded on it, you know, all the incentives, and then we gave incentives. You understand? We gave incentives, but
you also grew the local product at the same time.
You also gave incentives. That's it. You got it. The linkage is what we must do we must develop more linkages between
Agreed.
tourism and agriculture. We must do it.
Agreed.
There's a lot of talk about it, but we must do it. There must be a concerted effort for them first to use more local food. We must develop the culinary parts
Yes.
of our industry. Right? We must
We
develop
have a
it.
Fiona Compton, a Sean Benjamin out there.
We must make these people come down.
Yes.
You understand? Our restaurants, we started giving incentives to restaurants. We do for restaurants to develop the big chefs, and that's no plug.
I will say
don't say anything.
I will say absolutely
but I'll tell you
nothing.
something. But there also was a restaurant in my constituency, you know, a place called Foolish Virgins.
Okay.
Yeah, tourists came there.
Very nice.
Tourists came there. Tourists came there.
So, Mr. Pierre, with all these ideas that you have, boy, you can't be Minister of Tourism too. you can't. But I'm very excited. Really for this next chapter in the development, because I think a lot of St. Lucians want to see more involvement by locals in the industry, and hopefully, you know, we spend a little more on the marketing budget so that it resonates now that this is a Labour Party.
Yeah, but you also
who has done that for the people.
Yeah, but you have to deal with COVID, eh?
Yes.
And talking about COVID, Monday, I was thinking, why don't we, instead of pushing, there are many people who are vaccine skeptics. Why don't we push testing also?
Yes.
If we push testing, ensure people get tested, the people who are unfortunately positive will have to get cured. Not cured, they have to get something. And then they'll know that the vaccine is what they have to take.
Yes.
I don't know if
I think
you
it's just
understand the logic.
whole, the education, as you had said previously on Blazing, in terms of getting people out. And we, like you made the point earlier, in terms of the COVID wardens, as opposed to wardens to enforce, why not wardens to educate? Because we have clearly not reached people where they are in terms of how this virus is affecting us, the benefits of a vaccine, and how, you know, it would just help the whole economy.
Yeah, and that's the point you're making there, when the government doesn't understand.
Yeah.
When I said to them, the conditions at the isolation places must be brought up to standard.
Exactly.
Right? Listen to me. Why can't we have an island-wide testing?
Yes.
Like on Saturday, a van pass testing people.
Yeah.
You understand? They know if they are positive, they will not be treated like prisoners. They'll be treated humanely. And I think our party, somebody asked the other day, what we going to do for COVID? I think the first thing we're going to do is we're going to expand testing. Testing. So then we can find out who is positive, who's not positive, and the isolation facilities have to be improved.
Yes, I think again, I think a Labour Party will bring the trust in that system, and we'll see. I really think there will be a turnaround, because people want to trust that the government is working in their interest, that they will provide the best facility and care for them.
Yeah, and trust is the word.
Yes.
And my nurses, the nurses will get their $4,000 tax-free. So they'll have more money in their pocket, so they'll work a little harder, because the money will not go to the government. They won't be worried what the government doing with the money. They have the money in their pocket to spend. So all the nurses, all the healthcare workers who get less than $4,000 a month, they'll pay no tax under the St. Lucia Labour Party.
Okay. And St. Lucia,
and the tourism workers also.
Tourism workers. St. Lucia, I wish I had more time, but that is all for Chill and Chat, and I think it's been a very exciting period for me to actually meet the original tourism guru. Thank you, Honorable Philip JPF, for being with us. And St. Lucia, thank you. Over to you.
Thank you, Mondi. I enjoyed it. I guess we can talk again about commerce and financial services.
Yes, we'll be back, because we have a lot more to say, St. Lucia. So that's it for Chill and Chat. Have a good evening.